What is going on, YouTube? Today we are diving straight into G19 plus JJB plus Gazora Kaiju Alpha. And just look at this lobby. It is absolute chaos. If you love giant monsters, heavy metal footsteps, and crushing innocent skyscrapers into digital dust, smash that like button right now. Now, if you look at the game title, the developers didn't just throw random letters together because they brought out the absolute icons of Kaiju history. Today, we aren't just playing a Roblox game. We are stepping into a 70-year-old legacy of giant monster warfare. So let's get right into the roster. Alright, let's break down the big three featured on the game cover, starting with G19, which stands for Godzilla 2019 from the Hollywood Monsterverse. This is legendary Godzilla at his absolute peak, where he's thick, he's got those massive coral-like dorsal fins, and he is a
Next up is JJB or Jet Jaguar Beta. And now, some of you might think he looks like a giant colorful robot toy, but Jet Jaguar is a legend. Back in 1973, a kid actually won a contest to design him. And in his beta form from the anime Singular Point, he's incredibly fast and uses a giant spear. So if you want to out-combo a giant lizard, JJB is your guy. And finally, we have Gazora. And oh my god, the devs are true chads for adding him because he's a giant alien squid from a 1970 movie called Space Amoeba. He walks around on land by flopping his tentacles, which looks hilarious. But those tentacles can freeze you and slap you across the map, so you better watch out for the squid. While I absolutely level this financial district right here, let's talk about why crushing buildings feels so good. Scientists actually call this monster catharsis because in the real world we have to pay taxes, follow laws, and sit in traffic, but in Kaiju Alpha, you are a 100-meter tall force of nature. But hey, we have to respect the history, because back in the 1950s, there was no CGI, and the legendary actor Haruo Nakajima had to wear a Godzilla suit made of ready-mixed concrete and rubber that weighed over 100 kilograms. It was freezing, suffocating, and he could barely see through tiny holes in the neck. So every time you effortlessly smash a Roblox building with one click, remember the absolute sweat and tears it took to bring this monster to life. Alright, we've got a fight breaking out, and if you want to survive the Kaiju Alpha Wasteland, here is your pro strategy. If you're playing Godzilla, do not sleep on your tail whip, because everyone focuses on the atomic breath, but the tail whip is your 360-degree crowd control when smaller, faster players like Jet Jaguar try to swarm your legs. If you're playing a speed character, bait out Godzilla's beam first, since the atomic breath always has a long cooldown. So wait for them to miss, then dash in, lock them in a combo, and back off before they can stomp on you, because it's all about the spacing, boys.
While we wait for our health to regen, let me hit you with some of the most bizarre canon facts about Godzilla that sound completely fake. First off, Godzilla can fly. And I am not joking, because in the 1971 movie Godzilla vs. Hedorah, Godzilla literally turned upside down, pointed his atomic breath at the ground, and used it like a rocket booster to fly backward through the air. So if the devs add a flying mechanic for G19, this game is a 10 out of 10. Also, Godzilla actually talks, since in Godzilla vs. Gigan, he and his monster buddy Anguirus literally had a conversation. In the Japanese version, they used comic book speech bubbles, but the American dub gave Godzilla a rough, gravelly human voice. So imagine being a kid in the 70s and suddenly hearing Godzilla speak English.
Alright, we are not stopping anytime soon. And just look over there, it's a Kong player.
You know what that means, right? Because we have to recreate the ultimate cinematic grudge match, Godzilla vs. Kong. When you're fighting a Kong main in this map, you have to remember they usually have the speed advantage, since they love to jump around and bait your heavy attacks. My advice is don't chase them, so just let them come to you. Look for their landing animation and then blast them right in the face with that atomic fire, because this is our city now. While we clean up the rest of this server, let's talk about one of the most iconic sounds in cinema history, which is Godzilla's roar. If you're spamming the roar button in this game right now, you need to know how they actually made it back in 1954. Sound designers didn't use animal noises at all, and instead, the legendary composer Akira Ifukube took a leather glove coated in pine resin and rubbed it tightly against the strings of a double bass musical instrument. Then they slowed down the playback speed and boom! The terrifying metal screeching roar of the King of the Monsters was born, which is just pure creative genius. Things are getting sweaty in the center of the map, and we've got atomic blasts flying everywhere. Speaking of intense situations, did you know that acting in the classic Godzilla movies was a genuinely dangerous job?
In the Showa era, those rubber suits had almost zero ventilation, meaning the actors would sweat so much that they could literally pour cups of sweat out of their boots after a single take. Not only that, but during the special effects explosions on set, sparks would constantly fly into the suit, occasionally catching fire or choking the actor with toxic smoke. So, yeah, being the King of the Monsters in real life took some serious bravery.
You know, today we look at G19 and think he's this terrifying, dark, and serious deity. But Godzilla had a massive comedy phase in the 1960s and 70s. He became a superhero for kids, and things got incredibly goofy, where he did victory dances by jumping in the air and shaking his hands, famously known as the she dance, and he even practiced martial arts and did a ridiculous sliding dropkick on his tail to knock out Megalon. If the developers of this Roblox game ever decide to add that tail slide dropkick as a secret move, I promise you I will become a permanent main of this map. Let's take a quick stroll down to the shoreline, because this part of the map honestly reminds me of Monster Island from the classic lore.
In the old movies, humanity eventually got tired of getting their cities destroyed, so they gathered all the giant kaijus and placed them on a remote tropical island to live in peace. Of course, peace never lasts long because aliens or evil robots always show up to mind control them. But standing here, watching the sunset over a destroyed digital city, you really get to appreciate how far this franchise has come, since we've gone from low-budget miniature sets to massive multiplayer gaming battlegrounds. Alright, we are rolling into part 11, and just look who just spawned in. It's Mechagodzilla. This is the ultimate battle of nature versus machine, and every time a Mechagodzilla shows up in a server, you know the match is about to get 10 times more intense. In the lore, Mechagodzilla was built by humans, or sometimes evil space apes, specifically to murder our boy, and he's usually loaded with finger missiles, eye lasers, and a chest beam. When you're fighting him, you can't just mindlessly trade hits, so you need to use the environment. Take cover behind buildings to block his lasers, and then punish him with close-range heavy attacks when his weapons are overheated. Let's talk about what actually keeps Godzilla alive during these insane fights, which is his atomic heart. Godzilla isn't just a giant dinosaur because he is a walking, breathing nuclear fission reactor whose body constantly absorbs radiation to heal his wounds and power up his attacks. If you look at newer versions like Shin Godzilla, his biology is completely terrifying since he can mutate his DNA in a matter of seconds to adapt to any threat. If humans attack him from the air, he grows lasers on his back, and if he needs to destroy a city, his jaw splits open to unleash a sea of fire, which makes you realize that no matter how many giant robots or aliens we throw at him, the king will always find a way to evolve and stay on top. Before we wrap up this segment, I have to share one of the funniest real-world kaiju facts with you guys, because did you know that the 2014 Godzilla movie was almost heavily criticized in Brazil? And the reason is absolutely hilarious. When the first trailer dropped, environmental scientists in Brazil noticed that Godzilla's massive atomic footstep sound effect actually used the recorded audio of a real, highly endangered South American bird.
They were joking that Godzilla was single-handedly ruining wildlife conservation. So if you're stomping around this Roblox map right now making tons of noise, just know that you are officially a threat to global ecology. So stay destructive, my friends.
Before the era of advanced computer-generated imagery, bringing this 100-meter-tall beast to life required incredible physical sacrifice. The original filmmaking technique, known as tokusatsu, relied on suitmation, where the legendary actor Haruo Nakajima wore the first ever Godzilla suit, which was constructed from ready-mix concrete and heavy rubber, weighing over 100 kilograms. Inside the suit, the heat was suffocating, ventilation was virtually non-existent, and visibility was limited to tiny holes in the neck, meaning every destructive step taken on those miniature sets was a testament to human endurance.
From a low-budget nuclear nightmare to an Academy Award-winning masterpiece, Godzilla remains unlike anything else in cinema history. He is more than just a giant lizard, because he is a mirror to human history, a symbol of nature's resilience, and an eternal force that commands our respect. As long as humanity continues to challenge the balance of nature, the King of the Monsters will always be there to remind us. Thank you so much for watching this deep dive. If you loved the video, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let me know your favorite Godzilla era in the comments below. Until next time, keep the roar alive and take care. Goodbye!